Hello and welcome to another Doctor's Assistant 1 video, and today I'm doing a video on why I like the TV show Community. Yeah, this is going to be unscripted, so if it comes across like I'm just rambling, that will be a contributing factor. I really like Community, a lot. For once I've got a thematically correct, i.e. topic related, t-shirt, which is Inspector Spacetime. So for those of you who don't know, Inspector Spacetime is a parody of Doctor Who, which is in Community, the TV show, which is awesome. Yeah, I discovered this show via Netflix, so I started watching it there. It is amazing. The only way I can sort of describe it is imagine Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide and a TV show called Suburgatory. Were both mashed up together, because I think it's got that sort of Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide sort of vibe because it's set in a community college, but then it's got the sort of suburgatory sort of aspect because it's got the more sort of mature themes, the more mature language, and more fleshed out development that Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide just didn't have, because I think because it was aimed primarily at kids, I think there was bits that as the series got progressed on, I think it did sort of merge more or become more like Suburgatory. So, but that was because I think the people behind the show sort of grasped that their core audience were getting a bit older and were kind of curious as to see what we wanted more from these characters that we saw. Whereas with Community, I think no stone is left unturned, which I think is beautiful and amazing. And I think I'm just looking over there at all the 6 seasons that I've got on DVD now. I think the characters are well crafted, well developed, and well executed, but also they're always pushed into these unique and different sort of scenarios, and the context of the situations they're in allows for these almost breathtakingly unrealistic and sort of unrealistically non-TV like experiences. It doesn't feel like I'm watching a TV show when I watch Community. It feels like I'm watching real people, which is just unheard of for TV, I genuinely feel like, it's just real people that I'm watching, and these are people who, as well, like a lot of people behind the scenes of Community have said, or have been asked, so what do you think the success of this, or what do you think is the success of this show, what makes the show so successful even, and a lot of the actors and producers and writers and stuff have always said that it's the fact that the mixture of all the different people who just never get, sort of the limelight in media. You've got Pierce Hawthorne, who's this old misogynistic racist character. You've got Shirley, who's this black woman who's a single parent, who her husband cheated on her with another woman. You've got Jeff Winger, a failed lawyer who now has to go to community college to get a real degree in law. You've got Abed Nadir, who is a character with Asperger's syndrome. You've got you've got Annie, who is a Jew, but also a sort of recovering addict, and that. So she's clearly mentally somewhat unstable in the sense that I think, you get glimpses of her past, and in the story it comes across like what happened was that she was so unpopular but also so academically driven that she just had a mental breakdown, and I think a lot of people can relate to that. There's Britta, who is this sort of social activist but really is terrible at it, and I think a lot of Dan Harmon's own personal being is sort of projected in a lot of these different characters, actually, and I think that's beautiful, because a lot of the time when Dan Harmon is going on about the government and how awful they are, and that you can see that shine through Britta's character. And then you've got Troy Barnes, who at first starts out as the stereotypical sort of jock type character, but later on develops as this more almost 180 sort of, does this 180 almost and turns into this sort of more emotionally stable, more emotionally connected person who's just a gentle, nice, innocent young man who is, or boy, but becomes a man towards the latter end of his tenure on Community, I think. And what I think's beautiful is the fact that, like, Abed, who is, as I say, clearly has autism and, or more specifically Asperger's syndrome, has this best friend who is, as I say, Troy. But I think the thing is that works so perfectly with the two of them as characters is the fact that Abed being autistic or having Asperger's syndrome means that is this sort of disconnected, robotic, emotionally emotionally not vulnerable, but emotionally unavailable person. But then on the flip side, you've got Troy. So I think the two sort of, allow each other to see the world in different ways. Abed is learning how to be more emotionally connected to both himself and those around him, but Troy's learning how to protect someone who is not as emotionally stable as other people, or he's learning how to be more protective of more vulnerable people. He's learning more sort of how to be patient. He's learning how to be see things in a more logical or less emotionally invested way, and vice versa. Abed's learning how to deal with people who are different and don't like the same things as him all the time and stuff, but and as I say, there's a parody of Doctor Who called Inspector Spacetime. Of course I'm gonna love this show, it's called, as I say, Inspector Spacetime, and it's, Inspector, where are we? The question isn't where we are, it's when we are. Look out, Inspector, the Blowgons! And they're just Daleks, and it's like, wait, what? There's an episode where Abed learns about empathy at the end, and I love that, it's just him basically asking Annie if she wants some buttered noodles, but it's just so heart-wrenchingly pure and just such a noble and nice little bit of real life, of human life. And the format of the show changes so much in the style, in so much as the actual sort of aesthetics of the show change. Like, one episode's them all being puppets, one episode's 8-bit where they're all like little video game characters, one episode's full-on 2D animation, they're all they're all G.I. Joe-like characters. I love the show. I think the major criticism that I can think of is probably that every season really doesn't have an overall story arc. There is no real overall story arc, excluding the fact that the only story arc that I can think of is genuinely just the fact that their character interaction / character development. That's it. That's all I can think of. And the amount of guest stars as well. Have had Jack Black in the first series. There's loads and loads of cameos from all over the place, The Dean gets more involved in that in later series or seasons. It's an ever-evolving show, but for me, I definitely think Season 3 is the strongest. I love that season, and I think, there are just so many good episodes and so many likeable characters, and, again, even just characters who are just like Magnitude, who just says, "Pop, pop," and that's about it. You just fall in love with these characters because there's nothing not to like, and you even find out why he just goes pop, pop, and that, and that because of a flashback we see to Annie's past, and we see more about Annie and Troy Barnes' sort of past as well. But as a little Easter egg, or as a little, extra thing, as I say, we learn about Magnitude, who is literally just a background character for most episodes. And it's so, it kind of is like an episodic version of, imagine the Deadpool movie, but as an episodic sort of TV show, because Abed pretty much breaks the fourth wall and references pop culture galore. He pretty much kind of knows that he's in a TV show, but doesn't care. Everyone else around him just doesn't get that. One episode is clearly, it's just a homage to stop motion, and there's a stop motion episode which I adore, It's a Christmas stop motion episode. What's not to love? I mean, I am sorry, but I actually, Community is one of those TV shows that I actually like more than Doctor Who. I know that's heresy to actually acknowledge that on this channel, which is primarily, well, pretty much, just a Doctor Who channel. But if I'm not watching Doctor Who, or if I'm not playing video games and watching Doctor Who, then I'm probably, you can bet your bottom dollar that I'm probably watching Community. I've watched a lot of the episodes countless times. I've almost nearly even rewatched all of the last season a second time. I got that for my birthday, the 6th season, because as well, like, Netflix didn't have the 6th season, mainly because I'm assuming that's because Yahoo, that's where they distributed the last series on Yahoo's website for some reason, and so I'm assuming there was maybe some technical issues or legal issues with Netflix acquiring that last series. But yeah, all we need now is a movie. So it's like Cougar Town, #6 seasons and a movie. So yeah, if you haven't already watched the show Community, I highly recommend it. I think, as I say, the major sort of negative might be the fact that you might find it difficult to watch it because one week, the format might just be, normal live action, sort of realistic, real people, and then the next episode might be an episode, as I say, like the stop motion one, or the episode with the 2D animation of the G.I. Joe type characters, and so that might be off-putting for some people, but I love that because it just means that it allows for the team behind the scenes to be way more creative with the format of the show, and it lets the show not be boring and stagnant, and that, you don't know what you're getting from episode to episode, which is what I like personally. But also another negative that a lot of people might have with the show is the fact that there's no real overall story arc with each. There's maybe a theme, I would say, with each season, but nothing as concrete as this is from point A to point B, what's going to happen in season 1. There's literally just the theme is of season 1, for example, they're a Spanish study group. That's about it, and that's why they all interact with each other. Beyond that, you don't know what they're going to be interacting with each other about, So that leaves the door wide open to an endless possibility. One week they might have a paintball episode, one week they might have an episode set, at a restaurant where Abed's acting weird because he's actually acting normal and doesn't want to, reference Cougar Town and loads of films and pop culture and that anymore. But yeah, thanks for watching, comment, rate and subscribe.